All right, folks, in this video, we are taking a look at our Live Edge Walnut Cribbage boards. If you don't know what Cribbage is, it's a card game very popular in the upper Midwest. I know in other parts of the country it's not quite as popular, but around here in the Northwoods, it's a very popular game, and our Walnut Cribbage boards are very popular as well. You've got different versions here. We've got 2-player. Okay, you see the 2 different pockets for the pegs, obviously 3-player, and even 4-player back there, which we'll get to in a little bit. So you'll see these have the pegs in them right here, and you notice these don't have the pegs. Our pegs do not fall out of our boards, and it's because of these. There's actually a rare earth magnet behind in each one of those pockets to keep the pegs from falling out. Because if you've ever bought a cribbage board, you know the first thing that happens is you end up losing the pegs, and then you're that person playing with matchsticks or Q-tips or nails or whatever you can find, right? So we came up with this novel idea, and it's extremely popular and has shown that very few of our customers actually lose the pegs. Each one of those pocket magnets has over 5 pounds of pull. In fact, I've accidentally dropped cribbage boards face down on the concrete, and the pegs still did not come out. I'm not saying you should do that. I'm just saying it would sustain that, okay? So just like all of our products, we do not alter or manipulate them in any way. These are the normal, natural colors that you see with walnut. So because of that, every single walnut cribbage board is going to have some white sapwood. Many years ago, I think I had an individual like on Etsy or something like that. They bought a cribbage board, and then they wrote me a lengthy message complaining that their live edge, in other words, living edge that had the bark on the outside of the log, had white sapwood. Folks, there's not a walnut tree on the planet that doesn't have white sapwood. It's literally how they grow. If you don't know the difference between sapwood and heartwood, sapwood is the outer portion of the log, the living portion. And on like a lot of woods, whether it's cherry, oak, walnut, ash, they all have lighter sapwood, right? So this is the living part. This is sort of the dead part. No nutrients are traveling there, no water, no nothing, okay? After it dies, it turns into that darker color there. So that's why you have the drastic color differences. Now, that's not to say that we don't end up with some cribbage boards that have some darker sapwood. This is not natural, okay? These were probably trees that were maybe dead standing, or the log sat out here in the yard for a while before we got it cut. And as it started to break down via microbes, basically it's starting to decay and rot, it can change that sapwood to a darker color. That's not to say that's the natural color of it, where, you know, if you cut a walnut tree down, it's going to look like that. It takes time for that to happen, okay? Again, that's not something we changed in-house, and that's not something that we can just turn around and offer and say, oh, look, we have all these cribbage boards with dark sapwood. There's such a huge variety of different boards and logs and trees that come through here. We just can't really guarantee exactly what you're going to get. In a perfect world, we could cut, you know, all trees that look exactly the same so everybody knows what they're getting. Unfortunately, that's just not reality. Because this is live edge, again, you're going to get different widths. You're going to get different shapes. Some will have more heartwood and sapwood on the bottom than others. The closer you get to the outside of the log, of course, so the narrower it gets, obviously the more sapwood you're going to get, okay? So please keep that in mind when you go ahead and order. We just want to be sure that you understand what you're getting. Some of them will have little defects and things that were filled. So anytime we get a crack or a split or a knot, we don't just leave that as a gaping hole in your board. We'll actually fill that with epoxy. And when it comes to walnut, we'll actually dye it black as well. So you can see here on some of these, you know, we've got some black sapwood on there, right? So again, a little crack or something here. We'll fill all those. We don't want any splits or cracks or anything like that. Like all our products, we want these to last a very long time. We've been making and selling these for about a decade now, and we have people that bought them 10 years ago that tell us they still look great, they love it, they've had no issues with it, and they couldn't be happier. So because these have such a wide variety of sources and trees and logs cut at different times, you're going to have varying degrees of character, right? So if you look real close, you're going to see there's like little bug holes on this one here. It was obviously being attacked by insects. Maybe it was dead standing. Maybe it got attacked in the sawmill yard before it came to us. We're not going to necessarily fill all of those. Okay, you know, we're going to leave that on there as sort of rustic character. Not every board's going to have that. Some will have a lot, some will have a little. You know, there's a little bit of it on here. Again, we can't predict what you're going to get or what every single tree or log is going to look like, okay? I've already talked about the 2-player, and obviously you've seen a bunch of the 3-player. We do make a 4-player version now. This started a few years back. It was actually a request for another vendor who just wanted one, and next thing we knew, everybody wanted one, so we started making 4-player boards. The downside is we only have 3 colors of pegs because we have to special order these pegs as steel only to stick to the magnet. We haven't been able to find a manufacturer that can give us these pegs with a 4th color, because then we end up getting stainless steel or copper or aluminum or brass or something that obviously won't stick to a magnet. So if you do order the 4-player, just please keep in mind you are going to get only 3 colors of pegs. People have been able to make do with that thus far, so I think you'll probably be okay with it. And again, if you're getting a 4-player board, in order to have room for all those tracks on there, it's going to be a pretty substantial piece of wood, okay? So you're not going to get a narrow board as a 4-player board. It just takes up way too much real estate, okay? But you're going to get the same cool look, the same high quality, the same pockets holding the magnets in, obviously lighter sapwood, debarked on the edge, okay? You know, live edge. All of these are hand debarked. I literally hand shape each one. I use an all-time draw knife to take the bark off. I have special sanders I use to shape each edge so it feels good in your hand. It's not going to feel sharp or abrasive in any way. Again, we want all of our products to last a very long time. And we've shown that over the last decade that they do last a long time and people are very happy with them. So if you like what you see here, or if you got any questions at all, simply go to our website, www.logboy.com, and you can check out more info there.